Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. It is Monday, the 18th of April, 2022, and we are live. I am Mary Grace, and I'm coming to you today with a special report. We are going to have a call from Michael Yon. He is a combat correspondent. He has been in Panama for actually about a week now, and a little more than a week. And he is reporting on the situation with the migrants coming through the Darien Gap from Colombia into Panama. I want to give my listeners a chance to get in. And if you're coming in, please tag people, please share this, please put it into groups. This is a very important update. And we're going to have him call in. He doesn't have a strong enough signal to come in on video. So come on in. Everybody come in. Please follow. We're live today on Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and I think that's about it. So hopefully, if you're here, please share this. Please say hello. This is a special report. We have Michael Yon reporting from Panama, from the Darien Gap. He is at the San Vicente Migrant Welcome Center, basically, and he's going to be reporting to us. So I'm going to have him call in here in just a second. Actually, we're going to call him and put him on speaker. So this is what today's broadcast is about. I hope everybody had a great Easter. It looks like we're getting people in here, and we're going to go ahead and get him on the phone here and just set it up that way. In case you haven't seen Michael Yon before, let me just show you. I'll put a graphic up here. And he is down in Panama. Okay, so this is Michael Yon reporting from the Darien Gap. And let me see if I can do it this way. I don't know if I can get myself in the picture. I don't know how to do that. Anyway, I'm not going to leave that up there, but that's what we've got going on. All right, need a little technical help. Okay, here we go. So we're going to get him on the phone here. And if you're driving, if you're listening, please just make sure that you are ready to listen to this. So take about, this is going to be about 30 minutes. Pay attention to what's going on here. And if you're in the chat, I would appreciate it if you would keep the chat on topic now. We don't have a long time and we want to get the most out of this special report. Okay, so here we go. We're going to try to ring him in. Hello. Let's see if we can get you on speaker.
Hold on just a second, guy.
Okay. Okay, guys, stand by.
Hold on. Don't start yet. Something happened.
Hold on, guys. Hold on a second. Let me mute here. I've got to mute for a second. Okay, thank you everybody for standing by. If you're just coming in, I'm getting ready to bring Michael Yon on the line. Hold on a second. Here we go. You should have sound now, and we're going to speaker. So, to all of my listeners, we have Michael Yon reporting live. He is calling in. He doesn't have the best internet right now. So, we are going to get a report from him. Hello, Michael. Welcome to the show.
Hello from Darien, Panama. I'm in Darien province. You can hear a rainstorm moving in. You might hear some lightning. It's some birds. If the birds stop before the lightning gets here. I'm right beside the San Vicente camp where I believe Secretary Blinken was today, and he drove right by me, like 10 feet from me here, but I didn't see his face. That's why I say believe. But let's say I'm 99% certain. They came in on 4 Black Hawk helicopters. They were scheduled to come tomorrow, or that's what the press release was. But I came early because, people that do this kind of work know that they will tend to come early. What you'll do is you'll say this is the schedule, and then you obviously don't go right on schedule.
Got it. Got it.
So they came in with 4 Black Hawk helicopters down here today. Mayorkas was supposed to come along with Blinken to this camp. They didn't announce which camp they were at. I just figured out which one it was, and I came here, and this is where they came. Landed in 4 helicopters, stayed here for about an hour, jumped back on the helicopters, and flew away.
So the news was reporting that Mayorkas and Blinken were going to come to the Darien Gap. Apparently, they were going to be, it sounded like a humanitarian mission to ease the migrant flow, is what it sounded like. And they were supposed to come Tuesday or Wednesday, but you're saying that it looks like they came a day early, arriving on 4 Black Hawk helicopters right there. And you anticipated it because of your experience in the field. And you were there to witness what you believe was Secretary Blinken.
Yes, I was here. They came in 4 Black Hawk helicopters, and left in 3, weirdly. And making people still on the ground. I did drone while they were on the ground. So I drone their entire entourage, all the vehicles and the guys with the guns and all that stuff. And one of the Centerfront people, that's Panamanian Border Patrol, said that, we were having a language difficulty, but he said, they're very high officials in the U.S. government. I mean, we know they are. There's a reason why I'm here in advance, right?
Yeah,
and the reason why I'm sitting in this chair right now talking with you is because I knew this is where they were almost certainly going to come out of all the. They didn't actually go into Darien Gap. I'm in Darien Province. Darien Province is the province that includes Darien Gap. But this part right here is on the outside edge of the jungle. In other words, they didn't go deep into the jungle. This part has been chopped down generations ago. So the migrants, I go deep into the jungle all the time. I'll probably go out there again tomorrow or the next day with Ben Berkwam, who just landed in Panama City. He's driving down here right now.
Good.
It'll take him about five hours to get here. And I'll take Ben out into the jungle. And that's the jungle. That's where the howler monkeys are screaming at you all the time. And saw a crocodile last time. You don't see many crocodiles here or caiman because they eat most of them. So,
wow.
This was Florida.
Wow.
I've seen like 500, but alligators. But
yeah. Hey, Michael, are
Yeah.
you using speakerphone right now?
I know you're on my headset, but there's windy, so let me get to a different
Okay,
spot.
yeah, your audio is a little bit choppy. It's going in and out. So to my audience here today, listen, Michael is calling from Panama. And so we're going to do the best we can with the audio here. We could not get a video feed. We're going to do the best we can. So I appreciate your patience. He's literally reporting from the field. This is what correspondents do. So
I have no idea if you can hear me because you have totally blacked out.
Okay, I can hear you.
I hear you now. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And Mary Grace, we've talked about this before. The communications in 2022 and 2021 and 2020 in the United States is the worst I've ever seen in my entire adult life.
Amazing.
I've never seen anything like it. And I mean, I'm in Panama now, but I travel all over the United States. I have 2 phones, not because I'm a drug dealer, but because I use AT&T and Verizon. And everybody's like, well, you got 2 phones, you're a drug dealer? It's like, I've heard that 5,000 times. It's because I travel around the United States and our infrastructure sucks. I travel around the world. I'm constantly in other countries. And I'm telling you, our airports, our everything is breaking down. It's very difficult. I spend a substantial amount of my time every single day due to communications not working. It's unbelievable. The phones work better in Afghanistan. That is zero exaggeration.
Yeah, I believe you.
It's been a while since I was in Afghanistan, but I mean, they work better in Thailand. They work better in Japan, Hong Kong. Well, they kicked me out of Hong Kong, but they work better everywhere than the United States. And since when I'm talking with people in Panama, my phone works great if it's Panama to Panama. But when it's, Panama to the United States, or anywhere to the United States, or United States to United States. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, and it happened to us last time when you were in Florida. So I totally get it. Michael, so I have a question. You said that you anticipated where the Secretary of State would arrive, and Mayorkas. What? Uh, how did you know that that's where they would be? What
I
indicators?
mean, hey, this is how I roll. I'm constantly around the world doing things like this. So information is my business, and prediction is my business, and manhunting at times has been my business. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty good at predicting where people are going to go. And I know the playing field down here. I know what camp is the safest for them to go to and the most sterile. This is it. And I knew they would. We know the type of people we're dealing with here. They're going to come for a great photo ops in a very safe environment. This is it.
yeah,
They're not going to go to the dangerous environment that I'm going to take Ben to. I'm going to take Ben Bergwam out where it's actually dangerous. And as soon as he gets down, he lost his luggage, so that's why he's not going to be here in the next couple hours. And so because of a flight delay in the United States.
of course.
And so obviously high level people in the U.S. government, except for Tom Tiffany, Congressman Tom Tiffany and Congressman Burgess Owens, they went into the jungle with me. They went out there with Chuck Holton and I. We let them out into deep into the jungle, as deep as I'm going to take Ben Bergwam when he gets here. So I mean, they did it.
Yeah.
So it's not like every person in the U.S. government's a coward. That's completely untrue. But certainly these sorts of perfumed princesses, as one retired Colonel deceased would say, Colonel Hackworth, they don't go into where it's serious. They're not going to go out there and see what's really going on. Right now, this is called San Vicente Camp. That's where they came today. I'm watching a truck come out of it right now. There's a bus parked right beside me that will be filled with migrants tonight to head north. They are building this camp larger. This truck that's coming is Doctors Without Borders. And so they're leaving the camp right now, probably to go to dinner. What time is it? Yeah, it's 16:48.
This camp was just opened. This camp was opened in the during the pandemic. It was opened in September of 2020, which I thought was very interesting. Who is funding the camp? How is this camp financed?
There's two. I've droned it, of course, and I'm looking at two UN tents right now. I can see them, and it's written right on their tent.
Oh, we're losing signal.
You there?
Okay, you're back.
Well, U.S. taxpayers, let's just get down to it. United Nations, why did Secretary Blinken come here? We know that all this dog and pony show on the border is nonsense. As you know, I've spent a lot of time on the Texas border, Arizona, New Mexico, all over, Colombia, Mexico, all the way down to Chiapas State. I track migrants, and they are doing nothing but hurting the United States. They have thrown the gates wide open. Title 42 is now out the window, and Title 42 is the provision that allows Border Patrol to take illegal aliens, let's call them what they are, and take them and put them back into Mexico. And they're not doing that now. They're doing it with some, but we're being invaded. We're under attack. The food supply is breaking down. You and I have talked about this like 50 times. The United States, I've been warning about this since January 20. I've warned at least 2,000 times that the risk of famine is serious. And now I would say it's actually severe. We could actually have a literal famine in the United States. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but people listening to this who've read my work for the last 20 years know how often stuff that I say sounds crazy, like Iraq is going into a civil war. Remember when I was saying that a year and a half ahead of everybody else? And had people just recognized that it was a civil war, we could have treated it differently. And because you treat a civil war differently than, it's a different disease. And the bottom line, I spend years in wars. That's what I do is war, right? Tracking people, wars, migrants, pandemic, famines, And so you can see we're clearly going into famines. It's clear that Africa is going to melt down. You see Sri Lanka's just defaulted on debt. They have food problems, food riots in Peru, Venezuela's just melted. Many of the Venezuelans were in Colombia last time I was there. Now they're emptying out of Colombia.
How many Venezuelans do you estimate have come into the U.S. since last year?
I don't know. I've been asking people that question every single day. So you're asking the question that I'm asking, like
okay.
normal. But I can tell you this: in my previous trips to Darien Province and Darien Gap, let's say Venezuelans were 5%, maybe. They were about 50% of the migrants were Haitians and Cubans, and the other 50% was everybody else, right? Of which Venezuelans were a small part. Now I would say, to be directionally accurate, Venezuelans are probably about a third of the overall migrants.
Are you seeing illegal immigrants from the Middle East there?
Oh yeah,
Pakistan.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yemen, Pakistan, India. Not India, it's not Middle East. But of course, I've been to most of these countries. By the way, like I spent a year in India, so when I see a Sikh guy or somebody from Nepal,
yeah,
it's funny. I spent a year in Nepal, out with walking up to Mount Everest and all that, and out during the war, out with the Maoists and all that. It's funny because Nepalese, they come here and I can spot Nepalese usually, and I'll just walk up to them, namaste, how are you doing?
Yeah,
and it's interesting because they'll tell you about the war back in Nepal. There's no war in Nepal. Okay, I've been all over your country. You know what I mean? I have friends in Nepal. I mean, there was a war, but anyway, and I like Nepalese people. I love them actually.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is a lot of these migrants that are coming here, they say they're escaping wars, and some are, but others are not.
Sure.
And yeah, so you'll see people from literally Yemen, tons from Congo. The Congolese I usually get along with quite well. I love when I meet the Congolese. I sit down. They're like 30 feet tall. I like to sit down and talk with them.
Yeah, I used to meet them in South Africa. We had a lot of Congolese there. DCR, they were really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some of the groups I get along with very well, especially Congolese. I'm like, oh, Congo, I'm good.
Yeah, that brings me to another question, Michael. Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something, Michael. This is a question that I think bears asking. You've talked about this before. There are obviously people who are in favor of just unmitigated migration into our country, regardless of the culture. What have you observed in your travels about just the mixing of cultures? Is it like tell us your thoughts on just pouring everybody and anybody into the United States, regardless of where they come from?
Well, Mary Grace, I've spent more than half of my life in more than 80 countries, right? So I've only spent less than half of my life in the United States. And that's been all over the United States. For instance, when I was in the Army, or I went to school later in California, I went to language school in California, when stationed in Massachusetts, that was a foreign country to me. Stationed in North Carolina, of course. I've been all over the United States, except for Alaska. And I've been all over the world. And I can tell you one thing. And I've lived in Asia for more than 15 years. I love it. Here goes Border Patrol, sit in front. And they're very professional, by the way.
Panamanian Border Patrol?
Center Front. They're called Center Front. I saw a woman try to escape here yesterday. Actually, I'll tell you about it in a minute. But one thing I've learned, though, is some fish just don't mix well in the same aquarium. Some do and some don't. For instance, let's say Filipinos. If you had a the chart that when you get fish for the aquarium, which cultures mix well together and which don't. Filipinos would be like the green fish. They mix with almost everybody, right? Except the only red fish for Filipinos would be other Filipinos, right? Like sometimes they don't get along with each other. But Filipinos are like the universal blood donor. They get along with everybody.
Interesting.
All over the world. I don't care where I go. I know there's a Filipino there somewhere too, and I love them.
Yeah.
There's something about them I just like. But anyway, Filipinos get along with everybody. Now let's go to the other end of the spectrum. How about Chechens, right? Chechens, it's funny, when I was in Lithuania recently, because of the migration issue with Lukashenko from Belarus pushing migrants into Poland, or trying to in Poland, but you push some into Lithuania. And, I was with the Lithuanians in Afghanistan. I was with their army there, and I kept my contact. So and so I have good relations with them. And they gave me immediate access, like complete access to the camps and intelligence briefings, and out with their Army and Border Patrol, police, elected officials. They really gave me really red carpet, and I spent more than 3 weeks there. And one of the things that was interesting in their camps, they do the same thing that they do here. Like, for instance, often the Arabs and the Black Africans don't get along well. Now, Arabs from Africa and Black Africans don't get along well either. They will tend to fight. You put those fish in the same aquarium, it happens here too. Like a lady, one of the medical people that works in this camp that I'm looking at here, she told me the other day, she's like, the Haitians fight with the Yemenis, and the Haitians fight with the Venezuelans. So those fish, Haitians tend to, but another one is Chechens. Like when I was in Lithuania, it's a joke with the Lithuanians. Like, we have to keep them separate because Chechens reach critical mass at 6. Like if you have 7 Chechens, there will be violence, right? So I was like, "Where are the Chechens?" And they took me to them, and a couple of the Chechens spoke German, and I speak German quite well. I used to live in Germany.
Yeah.
And so I was talking with the Chechens, and they're serious guys. You know what I mean? They're famous for being serious guys.
Yeah.
And so anyway, on the fish chart, Chechens would have red fish all across the board almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Haitians, some of the Haitians I actually like quite a lot, and other ones I'm like, I don't want this guy in America. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's Filipinos, though, I'm like, welcome aboard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Interesting.
And the Congolese, I usually like them quite a lot. In other words, I have a very sensitive danger sensors on me. You know what I mean? That's the reason I'm still alive. And so when I sense danger, I generally don't like people. And I don't sense a lot of danger from the Congolese people. I don't sense it from the Filipinos. Why with Chechens? My radar is on,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so
Interesting.
just, people say that's prejudice, and I'll be like, sure is. Yep, it is. It's based on experience. It's based on years of wars and years of watching people getting their head blown off, right? I'm very serious about my danger sensors. And when they start tweaking, I listen very closely.
Yeah.
And for some of them, like I would take a ton of Hong Kongers, to the United States. I was in Hong Kong quite a bit during that fighting until this Chinese communist kicked me out. But the Hong Kongers, they're family people, good people. They work hard, too hard sometimes. They're like Japanese,
Yeah.
Japanese and Hong Kongers, they work themselves
Yep.
to death. And but yeah, some people, I'll take as many as we can get. Like Japanese, they add to the United States. They're very low crime. They're very good people. You'd want them as neighbors. There's others. We're going to have trouble, very serious trouble.
Yeah.
And and I just don't want them. Period. Say what you like, but that's my opinion, and I am not going to. That's based on a lot of global experience.
So,
we need to close the border, and everybody needs to apply.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I've seen the same thing in countries that I've been in. And when I was in South Africa, they have 11 official languages because it's very tribal. And there are tribes that have fought for millennia and they continue to fight, and you just don't put them together. But for some reason, when Americans say that, we're called racist and bigots and things like that. And that's just part of the narrative to paint us as the bad guys. However, everybody wants to come to our country. So I guess we're only bad insofar as our thoughts don't line up correctly with the political narrative, right? I have another question for you. So this is interesting to me. All of these NGOs are at the camp, and there's more than one camp. And these immigrants, these illegal immigrants, they call them migrants, to be politically correct. They are just pouring through the Darien Gap. This is a 66-mile long trail. It's the only unpaved portion of the highway that runs from Argentina all the way to Alaska. What is wrong with the funding and the foreign aid that America has been pouring into these countries for generations now? Where is that money going? That these people are actually still trying to get into our country. What happened to all that foreign aid?
We're just taking American taxpayers' money and using it against ourselves. I mean, there are some programs that I totally believe that we've done the right thing. There's times when I'm incredibly proud to be an American. I'm like, I feel lucky, so lucky that I was born in the United States. You won't believe it. And other times I'm wondering, what are we doing? This is complete insanity. And we have fallen for information war. You and I have talked about the book Rape of the Mind many times. I was just talking with one of my law enforcement friends today about it. He's now read it once, by the way, and now he's reading it a second time.
Yeah. And I've been recommending it.
He's a retired Navy guy. Now he's a federal law enforcement guy. And he read it and he's like, wow, we just lived through this. And he started reading it again.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic book, Rape of the Mind, 1956. And anyway, bottom line is, many of the problems that we're facing now are due to intergenerational information war. And information war is a very broad topic. It's very deep. A lot of people don't quite understand how big it is. I've studied it for many years. I've written 3 books on it. Unfortunately, they're all 3 in Japanese. They're not in English because I've been trying to wake up Japan for years, because Japan is, you can sense where an enemy's going when you watch their information campaigns. So if you want to know what CCP is up to, I and my team, we look and say, who are they focusing their information campaigns on? United States, Japan, Korea. And when we looked at Japan very closely, we're like, wow, they're really planning on taking out Okinawa. That's very clear. They're planning on, at some point, making a go for Japan. I've gone over to China. I've been to China many times. And the last couple of times I went over there was just studying information war. They're not going to let me back in after they kicked me out of Hong Kong. But their information campaign is laser focused on United States and Japan, and Korea as well, but especially Japan, and because Japan is the first line of defense to get to us, right? I was just talking with a friend from Okinawa in the last few hours about, and she also studies information war, and she's reading Rape of the Mind as well, and she can see it as well. When you see that the concerted, for instance, getting our military, you can't say that we should not have transgender people in special forces.
Yeah.
We should not have women in special forces. It is absolutely ridiculous to have women going through Ranger school. And I know some of the women go, you can't say that. I just said it. You shouldn't be going through Ranger school.
Yeah.
You should not be in the infantry. You should not be in infantry combat.
I agree.
Period. You can be a pilot. You can fight like the best of them as a pilot. They say women fighter pilots I've been in a ton of combat. I've been in more combat than almost anybody you'll ever see. I mean, real combat, right? And I've been in combat with women when women are out there. One thing women lack is not courage. They got courage, plenty of that. But they lack aggression. They lack that killer instinct. They lack that, let's go get them, let's kill them, right? They lack that. That's very important in combat. I want to go out there with young men in their 20s. They're like, where are they at? Let's get them. You know what I mean? Especially, going out with Marines or going out with Special Forces guys. Like, let's go find them. We're going to hunt them down. We're going to kill them, right? We're not in it. That's killer instinct. That's what you need for a real soldier, for a real army, right? We're not out here to hand out lollipops, right? And so, right, I get it. And, I was in Special Forces myself. I was a Green Beret myself. Of course, we studied insurgency and whatnot for years and that sort of thing. I get it. There's a time for lollipops and there's a time for killing, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want women in your combat units. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, right? It's a huge error. And, one of the things you can't see unless you're actually out there is one of the things you can't see unless you're out there is that women greatly affect the actual missions. And when I say that, I don't mean, this idea that, oh no, women got shot, I'm going to go risk my life to save her. Hey, we give medals for men to save, other men's lives, right? I mean, it's like, that's expected, right? No, that's not what it is. What I'm talking about is physically, when we're going on these long missions and you're out there, let's say in Afghanistan or Iraq, but let's say Afghanistan, and you've got to go over you're in these grape farms, right? And they have these mud, basically trestles, but they're made out of mud. And you got to go over these walls and just wall after wall after wall. And the women can't do it, period. right? So what do we have to do? We have to walk around the walls. That's where they put the bombs, right? Period. You have to be able to do the hard routes, because the hard routes are how you don't get shot in the face, right? You have to do the hard routes, stay off the trails, stay off the, go over the walls. We got to go over another wall. We got to go over all these trees. We got to go over this. We got to go over that. We got to cross the stream. Women can't do it. Got to take the easy route. They're slowing us down. We're in contact. Firefight. We need to maneuver on the enemy. Women are slowing us down. This is the truth. People don't like it, but I don't know anybody. Every time one of these women officers wants to bring it up and get in my face about it, I'm like, oh, let's talk about your infantry experience in combat. None of them have it, and they shouldn't have it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the bottom line. It's very, this is how they're destroying our military. Now we see, we got the General Milley, who's, as woke as it gets, 4-star general, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That guy, he is completely brainwashed. His mind has been raped and dried and hung out on a laundry line. I mean, he's just completely not just worthless. He has literally become a traitor. I mean, he literally, by his own words, he didn't call himself a traitor, but he admitted to it. This is what we get with. This would never have been acceptable. It would not be acceptable by me or the people whose military that I was in, right? And many of the people that are still in. It's completely unacceptable. I mean, to sell out your own country, and which is what he's done. And all this, you saw a statement. I'm white, and I want to know about white rage. I tell you what, it's not that you're white; it's that you're weak. You're weak. You need to be slapped in the face and kicked out of the military, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. Where's a Patton? They just don't exist now. I mean, they're one of the best combat leaders I ever saw was Eric Carrillo. I spent 5 months in combat with him. He's a 4-star general today. He was a lieutenant colonel at the time, and he was fantastic in combat. Great. Now he's the commander of CENTCOM, but he's gone woke. I mean, you can't even make. Yeah, I hear the Black Hawk taking off. This must be that.
Oh, that's the fourth one.
This must be the fourth one.
Yeah.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
So I was wondering because I saw 4 come in and only 3 go out, and so yeah.
Interesting.
And so he's just cranked up. That I don't know. Maybe they took somebody to something else or it was broke. I have no idea. But anyway, the bottom line is information warfare. That's what's destroying the United States. A lot of people can't see it. You saw something I put on, or I don't know if you saw it, but I put something on Locals yesterday, and I said our food supply is under attack.
Yeah.
And somebody responded very thoughtfully, and a very intelligent guy. He leaves a lot of comments, and he said, we're talking about the fertilizer being moved, by the Union Pacific and whatnot.
I was going to ask you about that. They're putting restrictions on moving fertilizer in the United States, correct?
Right. And his response was, actually, I'm telling you, when you look at the galaxy of issues here, we're really flirting with an actual famine, not food shortages. I'm talking people starving to death and vultures eating. I mean, that's what we're looking at. But this guy is a very smart man. I like him. I love his comments. Every time I see him, I read them. But a lot of people don't see information more. Let me give an example of growing up in Florida. I grew up in Florida catching alligators. My grandfather taught me I can catch them with my hands, no problem, right? Nighttime, daytime, I can find an alligator and I can catch it, right? And one of the things that's quite interesting is since I grew up swimming in those lakes in Florida, I can spot an alligator. I mean, it's a survival instinct.
Yeah.
I know where they are. I know their habits, and I can spot them like you can spot a lighthouse, right? And it's interesting because when I bring friends down and I want to show them Florida, I love Florida, and it's like I love Florida. I'm a true Florida man, and so I take them out and I love to show them things like alligators. And what's interesting is I learned young that a lot of people can't see the alligators that are right in front of them, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, not the ones that are up on the shore. Of course, you can see those. But if they're just a little bit hidden, they can't see them, and I can spot them instantly. And so I'll be like, there it is, right there between those, those 2 branches. See that turtle on the log to the left of him, right there, 3 feet back. I don't see it. Hold on. Give me the laser. You know what I mean? That right there.
Yeah.
That's an alligator? Yeah. That's like a 6-foot alligator. You know, and it's like, you know, it's like a, and so, I mean, they can't see them because their brain hasn't been, they didn't grow up the way I did catching alligators. And so let's see this Black Hawk, if he's going to fly over us. But the bottom line is life can be like that. And also, hold on, let me make a video of this guy. That way I'll have a timestamp of when he left. But people are asking me how long Blinken was. There he is. It's just one Black Hawk taking off now in the rain. Yeah, there he goes. Bye-bye, Black Hawk. Anyway, so this gentleman left a comment on my, maybe it is going to fly over me. He left a comment on his, on my locals saying that, you know, I was saying that our food supply is under attack, but that sounds like conspiracy theory. And I'm like, and then he gave all these reasons. He goes, no, the problem is, you know, they're having a problem with their employees because of the vaccination policy. And also they have a problem with diesel fuel because of this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay, forest trees. You don't see it. I just said we're under attack. He's like, no, it's conspiracy theory. They're having a problem with their employees because of the vaccination policy. Why do we have the vaccination policy, right? Information war, right? Why do we have all these fuel problems? Why do we have everybody in the world wants a windmill that don't work? You know what I mean? Why are we destroying our energy security, or have done it, and our food security? Information war, right? And so, but he doesn't see it. I see it because this is what I study. I grew up hunting alligators, and I've spent many years more studying information, because the PhD level of warfare is not guns. It's not kinetic. It's not shootouts and bombs. It's information warfare. It's the space between your ears, right? The information war is the PhD level of warfare. And the problem is a lot of people can't see it. Actually, if you ask the average person, what color is an alligator? The average think everybody listening, what color is an alligator, right? For a moment, what color is an alligator?
Most people say green. What do you guys say in the chat?
Most people say green.
Yeah.
And the University of Florida says green. I mean, it's on their license tags all over Florida. It's on T-shirts. It's on, you know, all sorts of Gators. Go Gators green. It's verdant green for them. But no, we're not. And the other people that think they know more will say brown. There's no brown alligators, and there's no green ones. There's green crocodiles. I've seen plenty of those. The alligators are black. They're black when they're, the top of them is black.
Yeah.
When they're wet, they're black. If they're dry, they're gray.
Yep.
And I would say, and I've asked huge numbers of people this since I was younger, because people would, one of the reasons people can't see alligators is because they think they're green. They're looking for something green. You know, and so I was like, okay, look at that thing over there. It's black. It's that black thing. And I'm like, black? I thought they're green. No, it's those two little bumps right there, and those other two bumps in front of it, that's its nostrils. And those other two bumps, they're so far apart, that's because it's a giant gator. You know what I mean?
It makes sense. It makes sense because they're in the swamp water, which is basically green. Black, right?
And they're looking for something green, right? And that information war. That's not an actual war. I mean, but look at the information campaign. Even people that grew up in Florida, they will argue with you. They'll be like, no, I've seen gators every day of my life. They're green. I'm like, okay, let's go find a green alligator right now. Let's go do it. You know? And then if you go and you look at it and people start to look at it, your mind is so set that they're green. They'll go, well, it's a dark green. It's kind of darkish green, like really dark. It's black. That thing is black, right?
Yeah.
Right? If it was anything other than an alligator, you would know that it's black. It's black as a tire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you know, so the bottom line is when the gentleman is saying, you know, it sounds conspiratorial to say that our food supply is under attack. To me, it's as obvious as that alligator. It's ultra clear. You know what I mean? It's painfully clear to even have to say it. Especially, but that's the way it goes. We don't see, like other things I can't see. We all have lacuna. You know, lacuna is a blank spot that you don't see, right?
Hey,
Panama,
Michael, I
by the
think
way,
we're
because it's
losing
a
you here a
great
second.
force.
Hold on a
And
second. I'm going to get you to hold for just a second, Michael. I'm going to just do a little a break here and make an announcement to the chat. A couple things. Some people are just coming in. I have Michael Yan on the line. If you're looking at the screen, you can see his name right across the screen. He's reporting from Panama. He is at the Darien Gap. And I just wanted to get a little announcement here. The for some reason it seems like I have a lot of trolls in the chat here. So if this isn't the place for you, you're welcome to click out. But if you don't know what's going on, ask somebody in the chat. But this is just I don't know what's going on here. But
what's upsetting the trolls today, Mary Grace?
yeah,
Is it
we're
the
we're
women in
definitely upsetting the
combat? Is it
trolls. And the other thing I wanted
let
to
them
say is
roll?
this: please do not post links in my chat. Facebook and YouTube will suppress the feed if you do that. So I'm asking you not to do that. Okay, so let's go on. Michael, I wanted to ask you quickly. We're talking about these migrants. What is First of all, why are they using the Darien Gap? And what is the end game here? I mean, I think it's obvious to everybody by now, but what's going on? Why did they build a camp for migrants during the middle of a pandemic when they're not even letting Americans go to work back in September of 2020? But they're building migrant camps in Panama using our tax dollars. What the heck is going on?
Yeah, well, they've been coming through Darien Gap for years, but not in these large numbers. They've been, this is like, good Lord, I don't even know, 1,000% increase or something like that. It's very substantial. In the past, it would be, more than 1,000% increase. In the past, it could be 2,000 or 3,000 people a year. And last year, it was over 100,000, according to the Panamanian government.
Okay, I'm going to say that again. So in the past, it was 2,000 to 3,000 a year. They pretty much halted migration during the beginning of the pandemic, but during that time, they were actually building a migrant camp, and now it's increased 1,000 times.
More. I mean, so that would be. I mean, it's got. It used to be 2,000 to 3,000 a year, and now it's. This year it could be easily more than 100,000 as well. And so right now they're this camp that I'm looking at as I speak with you. It's about 250 meters from me. This is the San Vicente camp in Darien province, outside of the Gap. The people that are in this camp in front of me, some will be leaving tonight. There's a bus parked in front of me. They're going to fill up usually about 5 buses, big giant buses, and they're going to take them to Costa Rica. And then from there they'll keep heading north to Nicaragua and Guatemala, and then finally Tapachula, Mexico, where I've been before tracking these guys, and then they end up in your hometown.
So these right people, now, if they make it through the Darien Gap, they don't even have to walk to the U.S. border. They're being bused.
Oh yeah, from here. I mean, the only time that they actually walk is Darien Gap. Usually after that, but other than that, it's mostly airplanes, buses, boats at times. And then there's that walk through the Darien Gap. They're not walking from Panama to the United States.
Right. Right.
They're taking buses. Almost all. Some people that can afford it end up getting on airplanes that somehow. But they go to South America. Many of the ones they go to South America because they can't get a visa to go to Nicaragua or Mexico. Now, Cubans can go to Nicaragua, and so more Cubans are bypassed the Darien Gap, and they're going to Nicaragua. Cubans and Haitians can also go to Suriname, which is that northernmost country in South America. It's an old Dutch colony, right? You still speak Dutch there. And the Haitians and the Cubans will fly down to Suriname because they can get into Suriname. And then from Suriname, they'll usually go to Brazil, and then they'll go up to Bolivia, and then they'll go to Peru, and they'll cross a really high desert up there, and then they'll go to Colombia, and then they'll enter the Darien Gap. And then from the Darien Gap, they end up in this camp right here. And then they get on this bus, which is parked in front of me. And this bus parked in front of me is going to take them to, I wish we were on video. I could turn you around and show you the bus. They're going to take them to Costa Rica. And then Costa Rica has a program with Nicaragua called Controlled Flow. Controlled Flow was a program brokered by the United States between Costa Rica and Panama to control the flow. to make it like an assembly line. So in other words, there's no all this talk about, hey, we're going to close the border. It's complete bullshit. I mean, we brokered the controlled flow deal so that they didn't have bottlenecks and whatnot, so that it flows, so that the flow is smooth. So there's these multiple camps along the way that if you control the flow, none of the camps end up overcrowded, right? So that's what you end up doing. So they end up in there's a couple of jungle camps that they'll come into that I'm going to take Ben Berquam to when he gets here. And then after those jungle camps, when the next camp is empty enough, they take them to that camp, which will often be this camp right here. If this camp is full, they'll take them to another camp before this one. They'll wait a day or two or maybe longer, depending on the flow, and then they'll bring them here. And then from here, they'll put them on buses, usually at night. Sometimes they go at day. And then they'll take them to Costa Rica and rinse, repeat. When you get to Nicaragua, there's no more controlled flow. You're kind of on your own to get up to Guatemala, and similarly. And so people are really taking advantage of them and that sort of thing. Ultimately, a lot of the trip is like ultimate backpacking, except for the Darien Gap. That's incredibly dangerous and incredibly difficult. Probably 10% die. Nobody actually knows how many die. I've interviewed huge numbers of them for months. I would say 10%. Based on, pretty much everybody that comes through saw somebody die or stepped over bodies and that sort of thing. And, but that part is very difficult. But for people like me, and I think you as well, who backpacked around the world when we were younger, a lot of it's just like ultimate backpacking. I mean, it's not any more difficult than me going up to Mount Everest. I just walked to the bottom of it. But I mean, it's not that difficult, really. It's just 1 foot in front of the other,
Sure.
And so for a lot of them, that's all it is. It's 1 foot in front of the other, except for Darien Gap and any bandits along the way, because, you get up into Mexico and you have to deal with serious bandits. And, Mexico, some of those cartels, I mean, they're just as bad as ISIS, right?
Yeah.
They're serious killers.
Yeah, they're heavily armed. So you said something about visas. Some of these Northern Triangle countries actually have visa requirements, but apparently the U.S. doesn't. That's my understanding, that anybody that presents themselves to the U.S. border, if they can get that far, they pretty much just walk in, and they actually have NGOs and teams, legal teams, that advise them on how to claim asylum. Is that what you're seeing?
They do that right here. They do it in this camp right in front of me. Yeah, and they give them debit cards, and the UN debit cards, which I brought up to Washington, and I got a whole trash bag filled with them. And they, with their ID cards, like the Haitians who worked in Chile for 3 or 4 years, they throw those away before they go in the United States. They'll keep them up until they get to the Mexican border, and then they throw them out. So I've collected a bunch myself. And
I saw Ben. Others. Yeah, Ben Berquam has a whole bag of those too. Do you? What's the percentage are you seeing? Men, women, working age men, children. What's the breakdown?
I would say right now it's about 3/4 men, but I need to get hold of the actual list. I've got a list from last year, but it's mostly men at this point. That's what I'm seeing. But what I want to see is the actual. I want to see I don't want to be wrong on this, but it looks like I'm guessing about 3/4 men.
Wow. And so when you bring members of Congress down there, you said that you've had Tom Tiffany was there. I think someone else from Congress. When you bring them down, what is the purpose of that trip, and what do you hope to accomplish by bringing them in to see this?
Yeah, actually, I'm supposed to be in Arizona right now. I was supposed to be with Tom Tiffany right now today in Arizona, and then I got a message from his chief of staff that Mayorkas and Blinken were coming down here. So I canceled my flight yesterday.
Yeah,
and I told Ben, "Hey, come down." So Ben is coming down on short notice as well.
Good.
So Tom wanted to come back down. Tom had planned to come maybe this week, and Tom is very serious. I've taken Tom down to the Texas-Mexico border, and he's serious. Tom Tiffany will go deep into the jungle. He He is not a perfumed princess. I think it comes from his dairy farming background.
Yeah.
I always get along with farmers. That's another green fish. They get along with everybody as farmers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here we go. It's gonna be kind of a bad day on the river. Tom's like, let's go. So we had a good time.
So what is it that, I mean, you have one congressman who's going into the jungle. What is the best we can hope to see from a visit like that? Are they going to be, I mean, especially with this, crazy nut job up in supposedly in the White House, whoever they have up there, calling the shots. What could we accomplish? Like, what do they hope to accomplish by going in?
Obviously, with the people that are now in charge, it's an uphill battle at minimum, right? But the fact that we even got Mayorkas and Blinken down here, I got a message from Bannon the other day when he saw a couple days ago, 48 hours ago, when he saw that these guys were coming down here. He's like, "You did it." I was like, "It wasn't just me, but there's a lot of people." I mean, they didn't come down here. Blinken and Mayorkas, they didn't come down here just randomly, right? There's definitely pressure from what we, I was just on Epoch Times last night, and a big article today came out in Epoch Times based on my work. These things are putting pressure on them. So, people that donate for me to be able to come out and do this stuff, it is working. However, we have the wrong people that are overall in charge.
Yeah.
Now, if we take everything back this year, which, if you think that we're going to have fair elections, then we could do something about it immediately. And people like Tom Tiffany, he's got my seal of approval. That guy goes out and he sees stuff. He knows stuff. He physically goes and sees, and he walks through the crap that we're walking through, and he talks with the people himself,
Yeah.
Doesn't have to take my word for it. And so that's what I like to do. I've taken a lot of people down here, intelligence people and that sort of thing. And I'm like, I've got you here now. We're here. I'm just going to sit down and talk with this Congolese dude, and you guys have fun. You just walk around for hours, and when you're tired, we'll get back on the dugout canoe and we'll go back down the Apocalypse Now River and maybe get dinner if we get home in time. And that's what I like to do, is to get them out, deliver them into the mess, and let them see for themselves. And I just stay out of it.
Yeah.
And then let them come to their own conclusions.
Yeah. Have you heard? Have you been in touch with Congressman Good from Virginia? I might have to try to connect you.
Nope, but if Congressman Good wants to come down here, just come on down.
Yeah,
we can make it happen.
Yeah, I'll see if I can make that. I'll see if I can get you connected. Yeah, he's pretty big on a border security. So I mean, that's one thing he talks about a lot. So we'll see if we can make that happen. So let me just see. There was a question here in the chat. I wanted to see if I could ask. Oh yeah, so trafficking. What are you seeing in terms of what appears to be trafficking of women, children, drugs? How's that playing out right in front of your eyes there?
It's hard to tell. I mean, we know it happens a lot. I mean, what we really need here is genetic testing, and we did some effort to actually make something like that happen. I took down somebody that's, in the DNA world, and some other people on one of the previous trips to do that. Interestingly, from the Panamanian government, we took some of them down as well. I mean, and what I was thinking was, what we should do is buy this hotel that we're in right now, that I'm in right now. I call it a 5-star, 1-star, and it's right by the camp. It's a nice place, family owned. I love it. It's got showers and all that, and rooms and everything. And do DNA testing, and for the kids that are found to be with somebody else, put them in here until they can be adopted out or found, find where they're from or something.
Yeah.
But the Panamanian government, interestingly, then, at first they're like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then I guess they had time to think about it. They're like, wait a minute, what are we going to do with what if we get too many children? Basically, they're getting, like, what if there's a lot of children that are trafficked? And then what are we going to do with them? So it's one of those, well, we just let the evil keep going downstream, because people know that if they come with children, and there was one child here, I've got him on video last year, that I really think that kid was not with his mother. And it was really, and everybody around was like, this is not his mother. I mean, the kid was crying and like wouldn't look at her, and it was just, and I was just like, oh man. I mean, I wanted to take that kid, but you just can't. You know what I mean? It'd be kidnapping. You know what I mean? I mean, you see this stuff, but the governments don't want to do anything about it. Obviously.
Yeah. It's so it's like a political
dogs. I'm watching the funniest thing right now. There's a dog running around with a bunch of horses. There's about 4 dogs running around with a horse. They're running in circles together. So there's a horse. I wish this video worked.
Just out in the middle of the street.
It's just like a horse running around with a bunch of dogs, and you hear them barking.
So when people are going, let me ask you about the gap, coming through the gap. So it's about 66 miles, I think. There's no road. People walk through. Do they have horses? Do they have canoes, donkeys? And how long does it typically take a group? Are they coming? I've got a lot of questions. Are they coming individually? Are there guides? Are they coming in groups? Like, how does that work?
I can tell you stories all night. Okay, on the 66 miles, that's where Highway 1 ends. Highway 1 goes all the way from Alaska to Tierra del Fuego at the tip of South America, right? So, or Tierra del Fuego to Alaska, depending where you want to start. And then, so that one highway, you can go all the way up and, through California and all the way up. And then there's this gap where there's no road through this jungle in the Darien Isthmus, and that's called the Darien Gap, right? And so that's the gap. Now, the people don't actually walk off the end of the road and then get on the road when it starts again. That's not the direction that they go. Okay. They don't even go to the end of the road. They don't even go to the end of the road on either side, right? They go to another place. They go to another place in Colombia called Nicocli, right? And I've gone down to Nicocli and got on the boat. They get on a boat, and then they go to another place in Colombia called Copragana, which it's about, I don't remember, hour and a half boat ride or something, kind of treacherous actually. And
so they're paying. So they're paying to get on these boats. This is like buying a bus ticket.
You pay. That's right.
Okay.
If you don't pay, you ain't getting on there. So
okay.
So then you go to Copragana, and then it's interesting when the migrants were getting off, they were spraying them down with like disinfectant with those, pressure washers. They didn't do it to us.
Wow.
I've got video of that. It's pretty interesting. And then from there, they go out into the Darien Gap. Now, there they'll pick up guides who are often highly predatory. And the guides, I mean, I hear the same stories over and over. We had a guide in, Colombia, and then he took us out one day and left us. When we sat down, he said, "I'm going to the toilet," and he never came back.
So you pay, so you pay the guide, and then they abandon you. That's what the coyotes do too, right? At the U.S. border.
It's the same story over and over and over. So then they go out. So some people go out as individuals, but if you go as an individual, I've trekked all over the world, for so it must be 1,000 miles. But I mean, you'll end up generally with a group of people. You know what I mean? At some point,
yeah.
And they do that here as well. So they either come as a group. Like I just met 9 mainland Chinese. They came as a group or somehow met each other.
Chinese? How did they get here?
What's that?
How the heck did they get here? Oh my gosh.
Well, they showed me the one of them, and I made photos of his waypoints and everything. So that was just like 5 days ago or so. And so, 9 mainlanders. One of them was a 13-year-old boy, and he was with his mother, and then the rest were military-age males. But interestingly, now some people, okay, you ask how long does it take to get through?
Yeah.
If you're super fit, like Rambo fit, and the rain gods smile on you, and you don't get killed by the Indians, which happens a lot, like every day.
Okay,
like
so super fit, it doesn't rain too much, and the Indians don't kill you. So that's one scenario. Okay.
And
if that's
you don't get lost. And you don't get lost.
And you don't get lost. Okay.
You can make it in 4 days.
Okay.
So that's if you're Superman, you can make it in 4 days. Very few people make it in 4 days because everything has to line up, including you start off as super fit. But some do, not very many. And then after that, it's usually more like 6 or 7, 8. One guy, I call him 22 days. I haven't talked with him in a while, but he went out. When Biden became president, his Cuban wife. He was actually from the Middle East, but he lives in Ecuador. And I called him 22 days, and he married this Cuban woman. The best I could tell, she's like a mail order bride. That was the feeling I got.
Yeah.
And when Biden became president, she made a run for the border, right, from Ecuador up through Colombia, and then was in the Darien. He's like, oh, my Cuban wife is leaving, so he started following her, right. He's still alive because he told me the story, and but it was a heck of a trip. So he's following his wife. She leaves him in the jungle and alone. And so, well, I call him 22 days. So, you already know how long he stayed out there. And she left him. And so he fell on about the fifth day, and he fell down this embankment that was very steep and slippery. It's very muddy and slippery out there. He said, I was stuck, I could not leave. I could not go forward. And the black people would help me. The Haitians came, and he was down in that, stuck between these two rocks for like 5 or 6 days. So on about the 11th day, these Haitians somehow got down there and got him out, right? And he's like, Michael, the big black birds, they were landing in the trees around me. They were watching me flying around. And he's like, the big black birds and the mosquitoes. You know what I did for my wife? I put my wife's perfume on me to stop the mosquitoes. It's
really?
like something terrible. Oh, yeah. I'm like, that's terrible. She left you in the jungle, and you're using her perfume to keep the mosquitoes off. He's like, yes, it was so terrible. And, it did not work. The mosquitoes kept coming.
Oh, no.
And I said, oh, man. And I said, well, what happened? He's like, oh, the Haitian people, they came and they took me out. It was very difficult. They took me with them for 2 days, but they could not carry me anymore. They gave me some food. They did not have much. They gave me some food. I love the Haitian ones now, before I liked them. Now I like the Haitian. He said, but then, I could not go very much. I was getting weak, but I was going slowly. And then he's like, the Latin people, they never helped me, but then came the ones from the Congo. The Congo.
The Congolese.
Africa, the big ones. He's like, yeah, the Congolese again. I'm like, yeah, those are my favorite Africans. He's like, the big ones, the big, really dark black ones from the Congo, they come and they carried me too for 2 more days. Like they gave me food, but they could not take me more. I loved them. The Latin ones, they left me every time. And
interesting.
He goes, then the Congolese, they left me. They said goodbye. I was tears in my. And then we get close to this river. And then this Indians come on the horses. They killed a woman in front of me. They raped her and they killed her. It's like I was crying so bad. And then another one of these Indians, they took me in the boat. They took me on the Piragua boat and took me down and saved my life. So basically the same tribe of Indians, which is the ones I go out with, raped and killed one woman in front of him, and then saved his life and took him down in the boat. I mean, this is how strange it is out here. So then this doctor from Colombia found him in the village, Doctors Without Borders, very good guy, and he told me about the Ecuadorian guy that was stuck out there 22 days. I'm like, oh, I want to talk with him. So, I got to know him, and we exchanged numbers and stuff, and then I was like, man, you made it, and your spirit's still high. And I was like, what about your wife? He's like, she made it to the Dallas, in the Texas. She's all the way up in the Dallas. The wedding, the marriage, is finished. I'm like, probably. And so then he made it from here to Costa Rica, and he made it up to Nicaragua. And then he got stuck in Nicaragua because I kept communicating with him. And he's like, my embassy is closed because of the COVID. Now I can't. I've lost my passport in the Darien, and now I cannot get a passport. And so I'm like, what are you going to do? I mean, you got to get out somehow. And and I sent him $200 actually. Normally I won't get involved in stuff, but I was just like, this guy is legit, and he's really in pain, and I can't stand to see this. So, and I helped him, get back and everything. And
so he ended up going back to where
he went back to. He's like, I will not go. I don't want to go to America. I was chasing my Cuban wife. I will not take another Cuban wife. And he was hilarious, man. And I was like, I'm going to come to Ecuador and see you and have some tea together because I want to hear this whole story.
That's just fascinating. You know? But most people, I mean, you know, it's just amazing to me. I mean, okay, so that situation, you actually helped the guy because, you know, he obviously made some bad choices and really just needed to go home. But overall, you know, you travel around the world. You've been to over 80 countries. This is what you do. This is, you know, your specialty is, you know, migration, war, famine, you know, things that most people just hear about, like from the sanitized, overly dramatized NPR reporters. Your purpose in doing this, like if you had to just give us a like a couple of bullet points, you know, what is it that you hope to accomplish, and what keeps you coming back to this, Michael?
Actually, at this phase of my life, I hope to be doing nothing but writing books. Like Regneri's been asking me for a book for a long time, you know, and I've written 6, 3 in English and 3 are just in Japanese, and they're all separate books. But now I see the United States and the world going into a mess, and I'm like, well, this part of my life that I had scheduled to write books, and I wanted to write about the cannibal hunting I told you about. You know, I took a break one time and went cannibal hunting. Here comes one of the Army trucks. It's 233. It's in a front truck. Let's see if it's got migrants in it. And let me take a photo. And it does. Hold on! Get down!
There's.
They look like maybe Africans. They didn't respond to any Spanish. And so that's 233. So 203 should be coming soon because they have 2 trucks that shuttle them from the Piragua boats to the camp. So so you'll probably hear another one go by soon. What was the question?
So just to, okay, kind of just, you know, what is it? What is your purpose there? I mean, obviously this is not
the most enjoyable thing I ever did in my life was just, you know, taking a break, and I went cannibal hunting in India and that sort of thing. And it was very successful, but it was just so fun, no responsibilities. And I wanted to write a book about that because, man, that was interesting.
Yeah.
And, but you know, but look, I mean, right now we're clearly going into the whole world is changing in dramatic ways. And we're, you know, I've been warning about famine since, I mean, it would be like, let's say a doctor just retiring to write books right when out of your whole life, if you were ever needed, this is it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Twin Towers crashing all over the world.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I'm just going to stop and write books now. You know, it's like,
yeah.
I can't do that, you know.
Kind of like Trump. Yeah. Kind of like Trump running for president when he could have just retired, right?
So I'm going to stay in it.
Yeah. Yeah. So your purpose really, you want to bring the truth. I mean, you're obviously, you're going down there at your own expense. You're in Panama. You're going deep into the jungle. You're getting congressmen and other reporters. You're actually bringing Ben Berkwam. He's with a network. You don't have to bring him down there, you know. And I think, knowing you, any reporter, any honest reporter that wanted to go down there with you, you would take them.
Oh yeah, I bring them off for free. You won't believe it. Like you on the airplane that you got on. I arranged all that and got Ben and Epoch and others up in those airplanes. That was all. I didn't charge a dime, and the pilots didn't charge anything.
Yeah, and
I mean, it was just completely. I constantly arrange for journalists to do stuff, and I see things you'll see things on the news all the time that you don't realize. I'm the one that got them there.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to come back to this point for my listeners because, you know, for some reason I have people that write to me. You seem to trigger people, Michael. What you're doing seems to trigger people. I'm sure you know that. But
be triggered, young man.
Yeah, I want to make this very clear. Michael is actually doing this for the benefit of all mankind. You know, Michael's purpose here is to raise awareness, to get change started from the grassroots level. and to make people aware of this. So me, if I wanted to go to Panama, if I want to go to the Darien Gap, Michael would help me facilitate that. Ben Berkwam from Real America's Voice is going down to go into the Darien Gap. They're not in a network together. You guys need to understand this. This isn't.
We would be competitors.
Yeah, I was going to say this is really kind of unheard of what he's talking about. When I was in Ohio on the convoy, Michael invited me to come in a private plane to scout out the convoy. He did that at his expense. I just need people to understand this. This is not typical.
Look at some of the people. Mary Grace. Sorry to interrupt, but look at some of the people that I've interviewed, or that I've given you the contact to interview, which were big interviews for you, and I did not even interview them. I just put you in contact. I do that all the time. I mean, I'm matchmaking because I can do more matchmaking and make, like the operator, like this switch goes into that one, you know what I mean, and hit more eyeballs out there to hopefully have a better, more positive effect on people. Like, for instance, warning people to stock up on food, to be prepared. This is going to get serious. And people were very triggered about that last year. And I'm like, well, be triggered all you want. You're going to be hungry if this goes the wrong way, right? And it's clearly going that way at this point. But anyway, I don't know what they're always. I trigger people a lot. But
it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't believe some of the things people tell me about you. It's like, I think you got the wrong guy. So, it's like, just for the record, guys, I traveled with Michael, halfway across America on the Freedom Convoy. And I'm just going to go on record right now telling you, I would actually trust Michael with my life. This is the character of the person that I'm talking to here on the phone. So for anybody that thinks they need to save me from Michael or warn me about Michael, you're wasting your whatever, your ink or your breath. It's just crazy.
Save you from Michael. What could be this stuff?
I'm telling you, some of the emails I get, I'm like, guys, you got the wrong person. This is this is not the Hannibal Lecter of correspondence here. So listen, Michael, I think if there's one last thing you want to leave with here, I actually just got a little visit from my dad. He came down to tell me that he's hungry. So I think that's my cue to wind up the show here. So if there's one last thing that you could say, I like to give actionable intel. What is it that you want people to do? What should people be doing right now to affect change at a grassroots level? What can they do? What should they do?
Well, the life that you know before is over. And I've been saying that since 2020, right? Because as you know, I studied pandemic and all these sorts of things for years. Pandemic, famine, war, mass migrations, and information war. It's all part of that same galaxy, right? So if you're going to do war correspondent work at a very high level, a PhD level, not just get into shootouts. Anybody with guts can do that. But if you're going to be predictive and develop enough experience, knowledge base to actually say things that do turn out to be true, that's what I do. And based on years of doing this around the world, if I were you, I would stock up heavily on food. I would stock up heavily on things that you need, whatever medicines that you need. I would invest hours at this point. Before I would say minutes, but now we're getting down to it. I would invest considerable time every day on your resilience. Now, people often ask me, what should I do? And I say, I don't know, because I don't know your specific circumstance. I don't know where you live, your age, your health, how many people you're responsible for. Do you live in downtown New York City, or do you live up in Alaska, right?
Yeah.
But you can find these things. For instance, there's a lot of preppers. That used to be a bad word, right? Now preppers are the new heroes, right? But the best thing to do is I know how bad YouTube can be. Go in a place like YouTube or online and look for people who have been thinking about this for years, and they're in your general circumstance.
Yeah.
Like if you live in the desert, they live in a desert. Then they'll start talking about, basics like water and that sort of thing. Yeah, and do it. And I mean, get on it. And I don't mean next week. It's time. It's here. You can see every day. The additive pressures are. We see Sri Lanka just defaulted on their debt. And keep your eyes on Greece. Keep your eyes on Italy. Keep your eyes on Portugal. When those three countries start to falter because they're the weak links of the EU, it's going to incur. The EU is in very serious. Europe is in very serious trouble.
Yeah, I can see that.
And as is the United States. And so we could literally see, I call it a white people famine because that wakes people up. We literally, very possibly, are going to see a white people famine in Europe within the next couple of years. Very possibly. And I don't mean 10%. I would put it more like a coin toss at this point.
Wow.
And likewise with the United States. Let's see. I mean, whenever I say something like this, I know I'm putting my reputation on the line, and I've worked very hard over the years to develop a reputation for accuracy and saying things that will stand the test of time.
Yeah.
I've put considerable research into this. I have stocked up thick and got everybody I know to do the same.
Yeah.
And if I were you, I would do the same. And remember, I would read at least 2 or 3 or 4 books on famine. It helps to. Black Potatoes is a good book. That was one of the last ones I read. And then you'll start to see the patterns. For instance, you always need to be able to defend your food. I mean, first rule of Prep Club also is there is no Prep Club, right? You don't tell people that you've got a ton of food in your basement because they absolutely are going to come and get it. Period.
Yeah.
And so keep that in mind. Be prepared. If you've thought it through and you work hard, you're going to sail through this, and we're going to get out the other side. It'll be a few years, probably at a minimum, and then we'll be through it. I mean, this has happened many times throughout history.
Yeah.
And it's our turn. And some of us aren't going to make it. Some of us are. And the people that have a much higher chance of making it are the ones who are very serious people, and they think things through. They're not afraid. But they do realize how mortal they are. And they prepare. And remember, the people that you're with have to be equally prepared.
Yeah. From a legislative standpoint, if somebody is going to call their representative and tell them, talk to them about what's going on with this immigration, what are just some basic talking points that they should hit on when they call or email?
Well, the United States is clearly going into serious food difficulties. Here comes another truck. Might be 2 or 3 this time. And let me see who's in the back of this one. Yeah, it's 2 or 3 this time. And hola, ¿qué tal?
Another bus.
Oh, no, that's the Army set up front truck.
Oh.
All right. Anyway, they're clapping here.
Nice.
Anyway, actually, I don't. They're invading the United States, but most of them I actually like. You know what I mean? But the problem is they need to do it the right way, and also food. I mean, we're going to end up with very serious problems this year. It's not going to be some nebulous time in the future at this point. It's definitely coming this year, and you can already see the food prices have exploded. I've warned at least 2,000 times on my locals. You have locals as well.
Yeah.
I've warned at least 2,000 times on my locals and in interviews like this, Epoch Times or wherever. I did interviews with them yesterday. I've warned at least 2,000 times since January of 2020.
Yep.
The conditions are shaping up for a serious time, and now they have. We're there. We're on the front edge of it. We haven't gone through the shockwave yet, but it's coming. And don't be afraid, but prepare, right?
So you're saying tell your congressman, like, this is an issue. Just the food situation is an issue. Our country cannot support these people coming in, especially needing help. I mean, they're not coming in with money. They're not coming in with means, right? We need to tell them this has to stop. Americans are suffering already. That's what we're seeing.
Many of these people have money. This is like the middle class people that are coming, by the way. We're not getting the destitute people. We're getting the people that can afford to make these great journeys by flight and everything else.
Yeah.
So we're getting like middle class Haitians, middle class Cubans. We're not getting the poorest of the poor, right? And so it's not like they were you see many of the people coming in here, they're very well marbled, right? They're not, even after going through Darien Gap, they'll tell you how much weight that they've lost.
Interesting.
But many of them are still, they're not starving to death. I mean, these are, healthy people, right? I mean, the ones who survive are healthy. I mean, obviously about 10% are dying out there.
Yeah.
But this is not, well, of course, by definition, if you made it through Darien Gap, you're not a weakling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the bottom line is they, like many of these Haitians, as you know, that were down in Chile, they had places to live. Chile's fine. Chile's a nice place. People go there on vacation, right? Americans go there on vacation.
Yeah.
And then all these countries that they're going through, whether it's Ecuador, Peru, Americans go down there and live all the time.
Yeah.
Brazil, Suriname, Colombia is nice. People, Colombia's and more. I'm like, no, it's not. Parts of it are.
And so why are they coming? So why? So why are these people coming? Why?
Because they've been, most of them, when I ask them, they're like, American Dream. You'll hear them say that a lot, actually. I think it's been part of an information campaign. Actually, down in Colombia, you can see, we saw it one time. I was in a hotel, and I saw CNN was playing in the restaurant and telling people how to get to the United States. But you'll hear a lot of the migrants talk about the American dream.
Yeah.
And it's human osmotic pressure, human osmotic pressure, the push and the pull. The bus just started up.
Yeah.
The human osmotic, so he's probably going to back up and go pick some up. And the human osmotic pressure, a lot of it's the pull factor. I mean, if you want to have birds all around your house, just start throwing out bird seeds, start throwing out corn. If you want ducks around your house and you live near a lake, just start throwing out corn every day. You'll have a lot of ducks.
Yeah.
And if you throw out corn every day, they'll have baby ducks, and then you'll have more and more ducks, and then you'll have thousands of ducks, and then you'll be like, well, I can't afford corn anymore, and then the ducks, break into your house. I mean, it's unbelievable what we're doing. We're feeding a monster that we, even as the U.S. economy is collapsing, we're pulling people in who either need jobs or they need to live on a tax base that's supported by a collapsing economy, and people who no longer believe in the United States, the core Americans.
Yeah.
And I call them core. Listen, I know this will trigger some of the weaklings out there. Yeah, I called you weaklings. I don't like weak people, right? I'm not talking physically weak. I mean morally weak, right?
Yeah.
To not be able to tell the truth, right? Bottom line is, there's some very serious times coming ahead, and I'll just drop it there.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's good. Michael, where can people follow you and get your reporting from the front lines?
I'm on locals.com, and Michael Yon. My last name is Yon, Yankee Oscar November, and I've also got my website, michaelyon.com. And often I'm just in interviews. If you put my name in Google Net Alerts, you'll see me in interviews all the time.
Just recently, Epic Times. If you guys subscribe to Epic Times, there was an interview with Michael that came out today. He was on the John Batchelor show this week. So just keep your ears open, because obviously, the report that we're getting today from Michael is what's happening today. And he told us that 4 Black Hawk helicopters came in, dignitaries came into the camp. He believes that it was Secretary Blinken and Mayorkas, 2 members of the cabinet of the Brandon regime. They were supposed to come in tomorrow, but they moved up the timeline. So, this is directly in real time, you guys, what's happening right now. And so, we do need to take this seriously. As I always say, don't be scared, be prepared. But you have to be aware of what's going on here. This is not entertainment. It's to inform you. I want you to have hope. I want you to take action. Being prepared is one of the best ways that you can go forward without being a victim in any situation. So this is part of situational awareness, is understanding what's going on in the world. And a lot of Americans, unfortunately, don't look past their TV screens to understand what's going on across the borders. And the Darien Gap is something that really they're not talking about on network news, as you probably know. Except maybe they will now because these two guys went down there. We'll just see what happens. But I encourage everybody to look this up. Michael Jan, thank you so much for being here today. I so appreciate you taking the time to call to educate our listeners, to give them a frontline report, and for just taking the time and facilitating this knowledge and understanding for so many people. I really, really do appreciate it. And and so yeah, just one more time, where can people follow you? Where can they find your work? And also how can they support you in the work that you're doing?
MichaelYan.com is my website. So Yankee Oscar November is my last name.
Awesome.
MichaelYan.com or on I post constantly on Locals.
Yes.
Locals.com. Locals.com.
Yes. Perfect.
So it's just my name on Locals.com. Yeah, they can support. I've been reader supported since 2005 when I first went to the Iraq War. I was doing it out of my pocket for the first, 5, 6, 7, 8 months or something.
Yeah.
And I finally I said, I should put up one of those PayPal button things, because it was getting so expensive.
Yeah.
And so ever since that time, I've been reader supported. I've never accepted advertisement. Like right now, I need to buy a $5,000 drone. I realized my little drone is just not very good. And I just started droning. Like when Lincoln came today, I did a lot of droning.
Yeah.
And, and followed him around and that sort of thing. And
nice.
So I'm like, as soon as he left, I'm like, that's it. I'm getting a better drone. I'm the one I need.
Nice.
So that's the way I do it. I'm reader supported.
Good. Okay.
And
perfect.
And I take journalists down a lot. I take serious people. I don't take people that just want to go see the birds and that sort of thing. I mean, I'll take people. I've taken people into wars and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they have to be totally serious people.
Yeah.
And when I say serious, usually they don't pay me anything at all, like at zero. And I say usually, I don't remember ever having taken any payment. And so that's it. I mean, usually I've even paid my own way. But that's it.
Yeah. But they can buy you dinner. They can buy you dinner, can't they?
I'll force them to buy me dinner, or I won't take them back from the jungle.
Nice.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, usually, but they have to be like Laura Logan wanted to come down here. She's upset she can't come because she's not an American yet. That's what I was going to say about Americans. There's a lot of people like Laura Logan. She's American, but she's not a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of these people on these trucks that are definitely, the fine in the jungle that I think, this guy's probably going to be a good American.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just basing that on 10-minute conversation. And other ones, I'm like, I don't want them, And
yeah.
There's a difference between Americans and U.S. citizens. There's a lot of U.S. citizens that are not Americans.
Yeah.
They may have been born their grandparents may have been born in America. But they were, they're just not American. They're just U.S. citizens. And then there's other people that have never stepped foot in America. And what's an American to me? It's somebody who believes in freedom. He believes in people have the right to choose how they live their lives, right? And it doesn't mean they have to come to America. Real Americans are welcome in America. I'd like flood America with those sorts of people, but people like Laura Logan, she's hardcore, true American, as are you, but she's not a U.S. citizen.
And she loves our Constitution.
She's actually African American.
Yeah.
She's from South Africa, just like Elon Musk. He's African American.
Yeah. She's done more to defend our Constitution than 90% of the people in Washington who swear to uphold it.
She's hardcore. I mean, I love Laura. She's like, Michael, be quiet. I'm talking. Oh, okay, whatever.
Oh gosh, I better remember that. I want to have her. I want to have her on the show. Maybe I'll bring her on the show. That would probably be how my YouTube would get taken down. I would go out in a blaze of glory if I had her on my YouTube. That would be awesome.
She'd be like, Mary Grace, you know how I got fired from Fox? She called Fauci. She said Fauci is like a Nazi or something like that.
I know.
I'm like, well, she got fired for saying the truth. I mean,
I know.
She's hardcore, man. She's a real war correspondent. She's one of the very few people that I actually look at level equal eyes when it comes to war correspondent work. She is really. She just goes into the action and.
Yep. Yeah,
she's right back out. Most people get into just a few firefights and they're like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, there's one thing to see it on TV. It's another when you're like right in the middle of it.
Yeah,
But she does. She just keeps rolling.
she's in a league all her own. Yeah, I mean, just to be, I mean, South Africans are a tough breed, that's for sure. So,
They're like Texans on steroids.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
look at Elon Musk.
yep, yep. She must be Afrikaans, I think. I mean, they're just super tough, you know.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
she's from South Africa,
yeah,
as is Elon Musk. That's why I
yeah.
love to put that jab out there.
I know,
Twitter
African
is
American. Yeah,
Twitter's swallowing the poison pill so that they won't be
I
absorbed
know.
by
I
an
know.
African American.
I think that's going to backfire on him, but we're going to have to come back to that topic. Michael, thank you so much. Listen, I am going to have to sign off. We will definitely have you back on. Everybody, please, if you're coming into the show, please rewind. And we're gonna say goodbye to Michael. I'm gonna close out the show here in just a minute, so don't leave just yet. But thank you again, Michael. Looks like we have some. What was that?
The
A
trucks
truck?
are going by. The empty trucks are going by.
Okay,
They
yeah.
dropped off people and now they're going back to get more.
Amazing. Okay, well, listen, you
Yeah.
have a wonderful night, and be safe out there. And we'll try to get you back on very soon. Take care, Michael.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Mary.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. So, I think Michael likes being on our show, because he kind of gets on a roll. Listen, I just wanted to thank everybody for being here. Thank you to my moderators. This was a great last minute interview that I just scheduled with him about an hour ago. And so, please do me a favor and go to his locals channel, michaelyan.locals.com. For those of you who don't know who Michael is, he's a combat correspondent. He's a Green Beret, a U.S. Army veteran. And obviously, he has taken his oath very seriously. That's an oath that he will never go back on. And somebody was making a comment about how he's out there in the jungle and he is seeing all these illegal immigrants and that it's anti-American. That couldn't actually be further from the truth. Michael is American through and through, and the reason that he is doing this is to raise awareness. He's actually going out there, putting himself in danger, to be on the front lines to show people exactly what's happening, because the people who went there from the administration are going to give you a sanitized photograph, a photo op of standing with UN officials and NGO officials and telling you how hunky dory it is and how they're facilitating safe migration. That is not what Michael is doing. Michael is telling you down to the brass tacks what is actually happening. And if you don't follow Ben Bergquam, I recommend that you follow him. It's BERGQUAM. You can find him on Facebook. He reports on Real America's Voice. He has been to the US border quite a bit. And so he is on his way to see Michael. I was with Ben in on the truckers on the Freedom Convoy, and just a great guy, excellent reporter, just an intrepid guy. And those two, in terms of reporting, correspondent work, they are absolutely the salt of the earth. I would put my life in their hands anytime. And I'm telling you that because just to validate for you the character and integrity of these guys. Okay. Just incredible, really principled and, highly trustworthy individuals. And so I just want to be very clear about that. And I think that's it for today. I am hoping to broadcast tomorrow. Those of you who are just coming in, this is Mary Grace Media. You can follow and like and subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Rumble. Please make sure you do that so that you don't miss a show. I'm going to be traveling. Starting Wednesday. And so if I go live in the coming week, it will most likely be just on my Facebook page. So make sure that you're following my Facebook, Mary Grace Media, and that you have your notifications on. Okay. Also, if you uh, Also, if you want to get in touch with me, it's info@marygracemedia.com, info@marygracemedia.com, and that is how you can get in touch with me. As usual, if you send me a message, please make sure if there are any links that you describe the links. I do not click on blind links. And then also, what else was I going to say? Keep it brief. Because I get a lot of emails. I really like corresponding with people, but it just takes a long time to reply. So info@marygracemedia.com. I'm looking at the chat while I talk to you guys. So that's it. I have to go feed my dad. He's hungry. He came down looking for food while I was on the live with Michael Yon. Kind of funny. But anyway, so everybody have a great afternoon. Please keep watching my channel. If I get any breaking news on the laptop, I'm hoping to talk to Jack Maxey in the next day or two from Switzerland. He, as some of you know, he has turned over information to WikiLeaks. They will be uploading information. And so I don't have a specific update from Jack Maxey right now, but I will provide that as soon as I can. I am hoping to get him back on the show when there's more to report. Okay. Just wanted to let everybody know that the story is not dead. It's still ongoing. They're still working on getting the content out in a way that it won't get taken down. That's one of the biggest issues, and that is one reason that they chose to go with WikiLeaks, is to make sure that the content does not get removed and that it is on a secure server. So say a prayer for that process, that it will get done. That it will get done in very expedient fashion. Somebody just said wiki can be changed by anyone. That's actually not true. You're thinking about Wikipedia. WikiLeaks cannot be changed by just anybody. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, I will be back. I'm not sure when. Please watch my channel, turn on your notifications, and we will hopefully do a show very soon. I hope to broadcast from the road. Just watch my channel and subscribe to my Telegram, which is Mary Grace Media Official. Subscribe to that, Mary Grace Media Official, so that you can catch what I post there. Have a great evening, everybody. Thank you. Thank you to my moderators, and thank you to all of the moderators, and to Delia, who does transcription and writes notes for the channel. Thanks again, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and thanks for tuning in.